Alrighty.
Okay, I have pressed the magic button. It is recording. So, welcome back to Circulus. Akari first, who are you playing?
I am playing Vex'Sarin, Vex for short, and he's a half-elf rager.
And Tom, you're next.
I play Panqarim Darkstone, a deep gnome barbarian.
And Eric.
Hello, I am playing Obaim Metalcaster. I am a dwarf cleric.
And last but not least, Logan.
I'm Fenix. I'm a Dragonborn playing a Paladin.
And at some point, we might also have Matt jump in. He's playing a human wizard named Aristobulus Ravenscroft. I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong. I can't wait until I'm corrected.
In fairness, he's the one that gave us that mess of a name.
I like the name. I do like the name, but I'm notoriously bad with pronouncing names.
I think we're just going to call him Chuck. So.
I will call him whatever Matt wants me to call him.
I've got him written down as Aristo.
My dad bought a player's handbook and found his old one.
Oh.
That means you have one, and he has one. Or he has two.
He has two.
It could very easily be that just Eric has two now.
Yeah, because he went out and bought an extra one, didn't he?
That is a foolproof way, usually, to find lost items, to buy the replacement. Just to recap really quickly. So, Vex the Half-Elf Ranger, Panq the Deep Gnome Barbarian, Obaim the Dwarf Cleric, and Fenix the Dragonborn Paladin are hired hands for Dibs Coin Pincher, a traveling merchant. With the first big storm of winter fast approaching, they are on their way to winter over in Dibs' hometown of Coomridge Keep. Most of the caravan employees left in the last town, leaving only our adventurers, Dibs, and a gruff halfling named Old Bob to manage the three wagons. On your way to Gors Gate, your last town before the destination, you were ambushed by what appeared to be dead trees animated by some evil force. You made short work of them. There were mighty gnomish battle cries. One of them got torn in half, and a wagon got turned into splinters by a mighty rage-filled Dragonborn. Turned them to kindling, and then said, heck with this, we're not sticking around, and went to Gors Gate. In the morning, it was revealed that Dibs had sold off one of the remaining wagons, you're down to two, and its contents, while picking up a new passenger, a human wizard named Aristobulus Ravenscroft. The 7 travelers all pile onto the 2 wagons. Actually, no, that's not true. You're all gathered around the wagons. Dibs, Old Bob, and Aristobulus are riding the wagons. Dibs wants the 4 of you walking, because it's easier to get into combat that way. His response when anyone asks is, have you ever heard of a safe swamp? To which no one can say they honestly have. And you are ready to start a 3-day journey to Coomridge Keep, where you will be able to relax and spend the winter in the finest inn in all of Coomridge, as Dibs has been fond of telling you. And that is where our adventure picks up. One last detail is during your morning rituals and whatnot, as Obaim is praying for his spells in the morning, he also receives a vision of a tower rising out of a mist-shrouded forest, rising well above the trees. It has a sort of copper dome on top. It's corroded. It's like shades of pale green. So you're assuming it's copper because you're a dwarf, you know metalwork. So the dome is on top of it, but otherwise it's a very, very tall tower. You've had dreams that were prophetic in the past. Some of them were literal. Some of them were very figurative. In this case, you have the sense that this is a real place and that place is important. Eric, unless Obaim chooses to share this vision with the rest of the party, you're the only one that knows this place is around.
Well, I'm one for sharing. I enjoy sharing, so I gather everybody around and kind of give them a synopsis of the vision that I have in my head.
Also, a little bit of retconning going on. We are going to be counting Punk's Monkey Wrench, which he has dubbed a wonderful name. What's that name, Tom?
Can opener.
And I kid you not, I almost put someone wearing plate armor into an encounter for this session. That's so cool. It would make sense as a name. That's so glorious. But we're going to count that as a mace as opposed to a club. We should have been counting as a mace the whole time. I don't feel too bad about that mistake from last session because you pretty much one-shotted those trees with it anyway. You didn't need those extra 2 possible points of damage. The only tree you didn't one-shot, you dropped your monkey wrench to rip it apart with your bare hands. Which was kind of epic.
That's why I'm here.
And also, anyone not already wearing leather armor, I am going to treat the winter gear you have, the traveling furs and leathers and all that, as leather armor. So your AC is not base traveling clothes, it's 11 plus your dexterity, because you're wearing leather armor now, which should help out 3 of you. Now, this is not something that Aristobulus is getting. He does have winter gear, but his winter gear, because he is of noble birth, he has some spending cash that his parents provided, so his winter gear is kind of the medieval equivalent of thinsulate. It's still like he's wearing robes, right? And you all gather around the wagons, and you're heading out with 2 wagons. It would be a 1-day trip if you were on a fast horse. But these wagons are very heavily loaded. They've got 2 horses each, and these are not small animals. These are very large horses, but it's a lot to pull. And the road is wide enough for 2 wagons to be side by side, but it's not. It's a pretty good road for a swamp. And you can see spots as you're traveling that have been maintained. Some spots are basically they shoved giant logs into the muck to hold up an elevated walkway, roadway over top of, in some cases, 1.5 feet to unknown depths of water. So you're not boating your way through the swamp, which is good. In raised portions where it's not totally flooded over, it's sometimes a more traditional road where there's even cobbles and whatnot, and there's some disrepair, but it's obvious that patrols go through and do maintain this over time. They're not coming through at this point because it is the onset of winter. It has been snowing, lightly snowing, but it's been snowing all morning already. There is ice in the swamp. There's really no exposed water, but you don't get the sense that the ice is thick enough to hold your weight, and definitely not the wagons. This is pretty much an instance where you suspect that the DM has decided to railroad you into only taking one path.
Looks like there's only one way to go.
Guess we have to go this way.
Question, is this considered difficult terrain?
If you step off the road, the answer is going to be yes. Unless you are a fish that is able to survive in subarctic temperatures. Because this swamp is in the mountains. In the mountains. Okay. So winter hits harder up here than it would if you were on the other side of Gors Gate. But the road itself it's well maintained, so it's easier terrain. It's why a horse would be able to make a 3-day trip in less than a day. So who's in front and who's behind?
I'll stand up front.
I'll stay up front with the gnome.
Dragonborn man is going to be up front also.
Okay.
I'll be...
Because I can't see anything in the back.
And you think the dwarf can?
He's taller than me.
How is the light where we are? It's a swamp, so I'm assuming there's some sort of low light going.
No, the light's okay. Most of the trees, and actually do a nature check. Everyone do a nature check.
5.
Me and Logan both roll a 4.
I also rolled a 4.
Okay.
Actually, 1.
So the ranger's like...
Hold on. Nature's intellect, so I got... No, it's even worse, never mind.
So the ranger looks around and says, "This swamp has trees."
That's what the ranger says.
Well,
I saw the leaves on those trees.
I'm getting flashbacks.
to be fair, I'm joking. Your ranger says whatever you want your ranger to say. I think
that's exactly what my ranger would say. If he was blind and saw nothing, that's what he would say.
old Bob just looks over at you and he's like, "You've really stepped up the curriculum for that ranger school."
Been a long day, okay? Been a long morning.
Okay. Well, the trees are, for the most part, free of leaves. You've got bare branches everywhere. There's a few that have just a little bit of evergreen needles on them, but for the most part, it's not a low light situation. The sun rose up maybe about an hour or 2 hours ago, and there's not enough in the way to block the light. You are in a very well lit area. In the middle of summer, you don't know. Maybe it would be incredibly low light, but this is winter. Okay, everyone roll me a perception check.
20.
10.
Sorry, Synergy's at Eric's at 20. Or sorry, Obaim. I keep on saying Synergy. And Fenix is a 12.
I'm swapping my dice because that was a natural 1.
Ponk is a 10.
Okay, so Vex misses the trees. There's too much of a swamp in the way.
Swap to my purple dice now.
I was saying this earlier before the recording, but it amuses me. It amuses me greatly how D&D is a stereotypical nerd game. Plenty of people play it nowadays, but it has always been considered the realm of nerds and people who look at numbers in a very analytical fashion. And then we get so superstitious, and I do it too, about our dice rolls and which dice are lucky and which ones aren't.
Because you need to have sacrificed enough goats together to get a right roll.
So that's my problem. I've been using chickens.
That's your problem.
Yeah, that's their problem.
Okay, well, my sister's not allowed to get a goat, so... Oh, well. Okay, so we got a natural 1, and... Tom, what was your roll again?
10.
Okay, and... Eric, you told me your roll was a 20, and Logan's was...
12.
Okay. Logan, you see
Okay.
someone in the water. Or rather, Fenix sees someone in the water about 20 feet away from the road. They are not facing the... Well, it's barely a caravan now. They're not facing the party, not facing the wagons. And they are moving, but they're moving kind of slowly, and it's the ice seems to have formed around them. They've been in that water a while. They are standing upright, and the water maybe comes up. The water and muck comes about up to mid-chest level.
Do I notice anything else about them just because of the roll, or pretty much the same thing as Fenix?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, Logan notices first because he's in the front. With your natural, that was a natural 20 you rolled?
No, that was with the modifier.
Okay. So no, you cannot tell the color of their irises from this distance, like I would be able to tell you if you rolled a natural 20.
Okay.
But you do also spot them. They look like they've been in the water a while. They look really messed up. They're kind of covered in mud. There's old blood dried to them. The clothes look ripped in various places. And at this point, you two are the only two people who have seen this thing.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna, if I can, I'm gonna, I'll yell at my other companions and tell them to look toward there and see if they can spot these particular, look, there's something over on that direction.
I'll take a look.
Okay. At this point, none of you feels like you, like even Ponk, you look at that ice-covered, that mucky water, and you know there's no way you're going to get closer to this particular person without swimming. And the water is way too... Yeah, so you're not swimming. You do hear old Bob yell out to... Dibs. Old Bob and Dibs are riding different wagons. They're both driving the wagons. He's like, first one of the trip. Didn't think we'd see one so soon.
See what?
Wait, since of my height, can I walk in this water?
Oh yeah, you could. Assuming that this person is regular human size, you could probably easily walk over to it. But this is really cold, ice-covered water. That winter gear you're wearing would not help you very much afterwards.
All right, no problem. Well, I'll check out and stay on the road.
Could Fenix maybe send his bird over to scout and see if it's hostile or anything?
Do you suggest this to Fenix?
Yes, I do.
I'll accept.
Okay. So you go to send your it's an eagle? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, it's an eagle named Justice.
Okay. I remember Justice. I couldn't remember the species. Okay, so you go to send Justice over, and you let him loose, and he flies, and he veers almost a 90-degree angle away from this person and lands on the back wagon and just sits there looking at you like, wait, are you nuts?
Dang it.
I say we keep going.
Yeah, so we keep going. Can I question old Bob about what he meant by didn't think he'd see one this soon?
Things that die in the swamp don't stay dead.
Oh, great.
Lovely.
Ghouls or something like zombies.
Okay.
But this one looks like he's pretty much stuck. It's why it's not that bad to travel at this time of year. We only need to worry if it starts snowing more heavily.
Hey, Vex, put an arrow through its head just to be sure.
I'll lose the arrow, but yep, I notch an arrow. So just roll for an attack.
Yep.
It's a humanoid.
It is medium undead. You already know it's a zombie.
Okay. That's 14 to hit.
14 is a definite hit. Roll for damage.
That's 5 plus 3, so 8 points of piercing damage.
Okay, you don't hit the head. You hit just below the neck and a little bit over to the side. And the zombie realizes that you're in the area and starts trying to turn around, but it, like I said, the ice formed around it. It's slow going. It's making some progress, but it's one of those things where you don't want to go out there to it. And if you hang around and wait for it to come to you, this might not be a 3-day journey. It might be a 4-day journey or a 5-day journey.
I'm not wasting another arrow. Let it be.
Yep.
It was a waste of an arrow. Even if you'd gotten a headshot, it would come back up in a few days. They don't stay dead here.
Obviously, there's something mystical going on. Let's keep on going.
Let's move.
As you continue to travel, every now and then you spot a few more. Most of them are in the same condition as the one that you saw first. They're getting trapped in the ice. You never see more than 2 at a time. They're very well spread out. And in talking to old Bob about it, Dibbs doesn't talk much about it. He's basically like eyes on the road. He's looking very nervous. And you get the idea that this might be why everyone else in the caravan staff jumped ship before you got to Gors Gate, because they weren't traveling into the swamp. But old Bob is, I don't want to say he's happy to tell you, because you've honestly never seen him happy. But he's fine telling you that it was a problem. It was much more of a problem maybe about 100 years ago. But 100 years of things dying in the swamp, not staying dead, over time, people get the idea, maybe going through the swamp is a bad idea, so fewer people go in. And this is also why this road is very well maintained. He mentions that every now and then people at Coomridge send patrols through, armed patrols. And over time, they've cleared out the undead, and basically cremated them. Ashes don't come back. So 100 years of that, it's gotten a lot safer.
So I guess the tourism board paid for it.
Tourists? Kermish doesn't get tourists.
Now with less undead.
Every now and then a ghoul shows up, and that's a problem. But now that Gors Gate has that wall, it doesn't happen as often.
I've jumped up onto the caravan just because I'll be able to keep an eye out better there and keep my arrow notched.
Give me an acrobatics check.
That's a natural 20.
You manage to keep your perfect footing on top of this very overladen, ponderous wagon through the various potholes and loose boards on the road. If it wasn't a merchant wagon, this would be a scene out of Lord of the Rings with Legolas jumping all around the giant elephant things. But you're just,
Sweet,
but instead you're hanging out on a wagon and not feeling quite as heroic, but feeling pretty good about yourself and how well you're able to keep your balance.
Did you do a superhero pose?
Always a super. I just do the superhero pose like Hawkeye, and then you just see Shepard sticking his head out the backpack.
A slight breeze blows into your face and your hair flies behind you.
Hair's billowing.
And there might even be a few sparkles.
No sparkles. Please, no sparkles.
You smile at something and one of your teeth goes ding.
And that's what you get with a natural 20, ladies and gentlemen.
And hilarity ensues in the undead-laden swamp.
That's hilarious.
Okay. So, day 1 comes to a close. You reluctantly set up camp in one of the drier areas, kicking all the trees to make sure they don't come to life on you. None of them do. I'm assuming you kicked all the trees to make sure they wouldn't come to life.
No, Tom jumped right in the middle of them. He was like, ah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so and just as an added emphasis, Ponk manages to cut down a few trees with his monkey wrench. Until this journey, you'd never seen a gnome cut a tree down with a blunt weapon.
It's kind of impressive.
But this is now the second time you've seen that happen.
I'm just sending out a warning to all of its relatives to not mess with it.
Vex, give me another nature check.
Natural 20? I'm going to swap dice because that's got to be loaded. Good lord.
Okay, with your natural 20,
I've swapped to different dice.
It is very obvious to you that most of the trees that are in this particular area, and you're only paying attention to it now because you're gathering wood for a fire. Most of the trees in this area look like they are conifers, so they really should still have needles. Several of the species are species that thrive in swamp area, so just the fact that there's lots of water wouldn't have necessarily killed them, but there's very little living in here. This is a dead area.
Please, God, no more moving trees.
You've kicked all the trees. None of the trees are alive or otherwise animated. If they are, they're doing a great job of playing dead. Night falls. Roll to dodge.
Whoa, what?
That was a joke, because night falls.
What? I want to dodge night?
We should talk about setting up a watch order.
I say old Bob goes first.
Of course you'd say that, Shorty. For the record, Bob is a halfling, so he's technically the same height as Ponk.
I'm only 3 feet tall.
Halflings are short.
I'll take the first watch.
I'll take second, and me and old Bob can get to know each other.
That's fine. I'll take last one.
Right, so we're only sleeping for 6 hours then.
Yeah.
Does this man sleep in full?
So, Vex is taking first watch. Give me a perception check.
That is a 10.
You see nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
And nothing jumps into the light of the fire and attacks you. No ancient evils rise up from the swamp to suck the souls out of all the party members. No giant monsters come down from the abyss laden with stars to end all that you've ever known and loved. And you can't quite make out if that tree is staring at you funny or not. You're guessing it isn't. But your watch ends.
Trees are staring at me funny.
Oh, well, yeah. After that previous session, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, all my life, I've loved trees, and this is how they repay me. Okay, so next watch. Give me a perception check. And I will roll
4.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't even notice that old Bob's there.
We're all
But old Bob, like, comes over to put wood on the fire. You jump and almost take a swing at him because you're like. You did not hear him like tramping through the soft earth. You didn't hear his feet getting pulled out of the mud. What?
I just thought it was the burritos.
Okay, I'm leaving that one in.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, old Bob rolled a 17 though, so
Good for old Bob. Glad to have you here, buddy.
he doesn't notice anything either. Third watch.
It's going to be Logan and me. I rolled a 16 plus 4, so 20. He rolled an 11 plus, 11. He rolled an 11.
Okay. During that third watch of the night, you see the campfire's getting a little low, so you put more wood on it.
No, don't be that DM.
You use the tree that was looking at us funny.
don't be that DM.
There is. After the fact, I will say that there was something you could have noticed. Because I'm not that DM. But I'm adjacent to that DM.
You went to school together, right?
May have studied under him. Okay, so day breaks. Roll to fix it. Two drums and a cymbal fall off a cliff. Exactly. Someone made a YouTube video of that, and the timing was impeccable, but never mind about that. You get your stuff together. You get back, I'm assuming, into your previous position of 2 in the front, 1 in the back, 1 riding on top.
That's what
Am I
she
doing
said.
another check?
That works.
Yes, you're going to need another check for this.
That is a 22.
Me a 22, Logan a no.
Oh no, this was an
No, this is
acrobatics
just
check
from-
to see if he
Oh,
falls
I'm
off the
sorry.
wagon and lands in the
This
mud.
is for me doing the superhero thing again.
Oh,
Okay,
you're a
because it
superhero.
wasn't a natural 20. You don't get the slight breeze and your hair blowing behind you, but and you have to shift your weight just a little bit because things aren't packed up as well as they were at the beginning of the journey. You're sort of moving them with your feet because of your weight on top, but you do manage to stay upright the entire time. You're still making it look easy. Old Bob spends some time trying to convince Fenix to try that trick on top of the wagon also.
Oh god.
Come on, look, it's easy, isn't it? I mean, the elf can
I
do
want
it.
to try.
I'll break through the wagon just like I did to the other one.
Yeah,
I
you
can do
break
it.
through this wagon, you're carrying all this stuff all the way to Coomridge.
I just kind of dip my
Me.
head down. I kind of dip my head down, and that's why he's not getting up here.
Okay.
So he does it and rolls a natural 20.
Okay, so the first wagon has a half elf ranger in a heroic pose with an arrow nocturne ready.
And a little wolf in my backpack.
And a little wolf in your backpack, sticking his head out every now and then, looking around, just giving a big old tongue hanging down smile at the world. The world fails its charisma save against being charmed.
That's my boy.
And the second wagon has a Dragonborn, also on top of the wagon. He doesn't have hair because he's a Dragonborn, but if he did, there would be a breeze blowing through it. And his long brown locks would be flowing in the wind. Instead,
he's a rather massive man.
He is rather massive, and the fur-lined portions of his winter gear are rippling in the wind, and he has struck a pose as the sun rises in the east, and you're traveling east, so it's shining right in his face and blinding him. But Obaim, you're taking up the rear as the rear guard, so you see the silhouette of the Dragonborn striking a heroic pose as the sun rises in front of him, and you're taken aback by how epic he looks. He's doing a pretty good job. Now, he doesn't have any ranged attacks. He's totally useless on top of the wagon, and he can't see anything because the sun's in his eyes. But the point is, he looks cool, and isn't that what we all need in a D&D game?
I agree. I cannot believe you rolled a natural 20 on that one, boy.
I cannot believe you rolled a natural 20 on that one.
Okay, however, the sun is definitely in his eyes, so, and the sun is also in your eyes, Vex, because of your positioning.
I put my hood up.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull my hood down just a little bit more.
Okay.
I don't have a hood.
The only person who really doesn't have to worry about the sun too much right now is Obaim, because the sun is directly on the other side of two wagons and a Dragonborn. So they're doing a pretty good job of keeping him in the shade, which isn't so good in this cold weather, and the snow is a little bit hard. Like, you can't see the ice anymore. The ice is covered with snow. The wagons aren't really slowed down yet, but they have slipped a little bit, so you're getting a little nervous if you're paying attention. However, everyone except Obaim, give me a perception check at disadvantage. So roll 2d20s and give me your lowest number.
How many 2d20s?
2d20 and give me the lower of the two numbers, because everyone except for Obaim, you don't have a chance of seeing what's up ahead. There's a wagon in the way. Everyone else can look ahead, but there's a sun in the way. So
Logan rolls on 18.
Okay, so we got an 18. Tom, you had a
20.
You had a natural 20?
Not a natural, no.
Okay, but
I got a 6.
your lower of your two rolls is a 20.
Yes.
That's pretty good. I'm impressed. And what was Vex's?
16.
16. Okay, so Vex and Panq both see someone standing on a part of the road that's more of a bridge over water. They have a sword out. There are bodies lying prone around them. And their head is cocked a little bit to the side, like they're trying to listen, but they're otherwise not moving. They are now, Panq, you can see this. This person is wearing a tabard. It has a large blue rose in the middle of it, and the tabard's cloth itself is either an orange or a brown, and it has a blue trim along the edge.
Doesn't mean anything to me. I'm gonna call back to who's the front wagon? Dibs, or is it Old Bob?
Yeah, Dibs is driving the front one.
All right, first. Hey, Dibs. Anybody wearing a blue rose mean anything to you?
So he was paying more attention to the immediate road in front of him. You were looking further up ahead.
Right.
At your voice, he looks up and he goes, "Oh dear, that's not good."
So who are they?
Dibs hops off his wagon and walks over and he goes, "That's a captain." No, sergeant. He says it's a sergeant, not a captain.
Of what?
Kermage has a guard force that routinely patrols the road. Sergeant leads the patrols. That's a sergeant.
It'd be cool if we could intimidate him by crippling.
Let's
What do you
not intimidate a guard of Courage.
All right. I'm gonna walk back and let Synergy know kinda what we saw.
So Logan, does Fenix say that out loud that he's planning on intimidating a guard?
He whispers to himself.
He's whispering it to himself.
We got company. I'm letting everybody know. Quietly, though.
I get down off the wagon.
Well, one of you's gonna have to go over and see if he's okay.
I'll go over.
I'll go with you. I've got my bow notched. It's not like pointing, but it's like ready to go if needs be.
Are you trying to be stealthy, or are you announcing your presence?
I would like to be stealthy. If
No, I want him to focus on me, so I'll announce my presence, and you make sure that you guard my ass.
Okay, and then in that case, I need a stealth check from Vex.
I got a 19.
Okay, so far as you know, he doesn't hear you. How does Obaim try to get his attention?
I whistle loudly, and then wave my hand up like waving, and then I point to the person that's on the ground to see if he's okay.
He turns very quickly and is like, "What? Who's there?" He's holding his sword in front of him every time he turns, like he's trying. He's obviously spooked at this point. Who's there? Who said that?
I did. I wave my hand. Hello, over here.
Give me a perception check. Everyone who's got close to him, give me a perception check.
I didn't go near him.
I roll a 6.
I rolled a 21.
Okay, Vex notices this guy doesn't have eyes. There is blood that is partially dried coming down his face from his empty sockets.
All right, I don't know.
He doesn't see anything.
I come out of stealth and I say, Obaim, he needs healing.
Come out of stealth. This is World of Warcraft now. except you're a ranger, so you didn't have stealth. You had camouflage.
You know what I meant. I come out and just say,
Well,
Obaim, he needs help. He needs healing.
While they're doing that, I want to jump up on one of the wagons so I can get a good perspective to kind of look behind us, just to kind of guard the wagons while we're doing this.
Okay. Give me a perception check.
20. Natural 20.
What's with the natural 20s this game?
I know.
We're going to use them up too early.
I know, we're going to use them all before combat and we're going to
Yeah,
die.
once combat starts, okay, everyone roll initiative. 1. What are you? 1, 1, 1. Okay, roll to attack. 1, 1, 1.
Exactly.
Well, it was a TPK. They all crit missed and hit each other. Strange freak accidents. Okay, so you see a few undead, more than you've seen before, but with the continued colder weather, they're not going anywhere. You think you might be able to, as a gnome's weight, you might be able to walk out to them and bash their skulls in with your can opener, but you're not 100% sure. It would. You'd have to roll to do an acrobatics check or something to get to them.
Nah, I don't care that much. I'll just stay right where I am.
Okay, but you do notice there's more of them around here than you've seen on the journey so far. Okay.
Just keep an eye on them.
Meanwhile, the sergeant is still asking who's there,
Yep.
and every now and then he calls out a few names that you don't recognize and asks if they're there. But
What are the names?
Bob, but not Wally,
If you
Fred.
don't know the names, it's fine.
Yeah, it's you don't recognize any of the names.
I grab Obaim and I bring him up as I'm walking towards the sergeant. I say, Sergeant, my name is Vex. We're escorting a caravan. We found you here. We're here to help. I have a skilled cleric. He'll be able to help you.
Where are my men?
Don't worry about that for now.
Hold on. I gotta be.
Where are my men? Where are they? What has happened to them?
Your men have fallen.
No.
We need to take care
No.
of you.
How did they die? Are they here? Are they here? We need to take them back to Coomridge. Are they here?
Can I see them around us?
You see you guess about 4 bodies have tabards on. They do not have the blue trim, but otherwise they're identical. There's a couple more bodies that are not wearing tabards.
4 of your men are here. They have fallen.
How? How'd they die?
Can I roll
How did they
perception
die?
for that?
Yes, you can.
19.
That
I
is
roll a 21.
that is much more than you need. So none of them have eyes. None of them. None of the 6 bodies, the 4 guards and the 2 other bodies that are there have eyes. The 2 others are in an advanced state of decay. They were clearly zombies that have been fallen, and they've got various stab wounds that put them down. 3 of the guards look like they've either been bludgeoned, or in one case the throat is ripped out completely in a very, very messy way. The 4th guard looks like he got a sword slash across his throat. Meanwhile, this sergeant has not lowered his sword.
No, I know.
He's
I'm keeping my
waiting for you to
distance. I'm
answer.
keeping my distance. By the looks of it, 3 of them were beaten to death. 1 was slashed by a blade.
What does he look like? What color is his hair?
Do I need to roll?
You can see his hair is blonde.
Blonde.
By the way, for the record, the other 3, 2 of them have red hair, 1 of them has black hair. But that's neither here nor there. When you say blonde, the sergeant immediately breaks down sobbing. He drops the sword, drops to his knees, and he's just crying.
Oh, no.
I kind of just grab him as it drops again and just hold him.
You do that. He does not resist at all.
He was family, wasn't he?
He doesn't answer. He's just sobbing.
I ask him what happened here. Why? What happened in this area? How did this come to this?
He is not answering. You're surprised he can breathe. He's sobbing so much. He's taking gasps for air in between his sobs.
I'm checking. I want to check him out just real quick. Let him go just a little bit so I can check him out.
Okay.
I want to see if there's any other damage around him.
Well, you have
around or examine his eyes.
You have skill in medicine, right?
I do.
So yeah, give me a check for that.
19.
He has, other than his eyes, which are very obvious this close, he has no other injuries on his body at all. But there's a few old scars, but nothing current.
Could I tell if his eyes were gouged out or burned out, or like a magic was able to take his eyes out of him?
The blood appears to be from where the not arteries, but the veins and stuff were severed from their removal.
Okay, gotcha.
But there's no other wound other than the fact that the eyes aren't there anymore. It's almost like the eyes left their sockets on their own.
I can't heal this, Vex. This isn't something I can just cure.
Okay. I kind of tear a bit of cloth off my shirt and kind of wrap it around his eyes just to.
Does anybody have any water? Anybody have any water we can give him?
Oh, you got plenty of provisions.
I take my water skin out and give him and put it into his hands. It's water. It'll help.
He just holds it. He does take it from you. You put it in his hands and he holds on to it so you can let go and it doesn't fall. But he just holds it.
I need to get you and these men out of here. Can you stand? Can you walk?
He kind of somewhat nods.
I help him up. Put his arm over my shoulder.
Yeah, get him in the trailer.
We got to take them with us. We got to take them with us.
We will. I
Do
promise.
we have any space in the back of the wagon?
We'll make space.
There's space next to old Bob. So
Right,
you put him next to old Bob. You sort of tie him onto his seat so he doesn't fall off.
Take him over, tie him down. Yep.
Old Bob helps you with the dead. You have a surprisingly large amount of rope on the wagons. So he basically ties them all up. So that they're almost. So he's got more than one wrap around the arms, tying the torso. The legs are tied together, and he basically rigs them up underneath the back wagon.
Are they secure in a sense that if they do come back from the dead, they're not going to get out?
He lets it known that he doesn't know how long they've been down, and nothing stays dead here.
Yeah, let's make sure
So
we
that's
tie
a
the
yes.
hands. Yeah, let's make sure we tie these hands and legs. Let's hog tie these son of a guns.
Oh, no, he did.
Okay, very good.
It's almost like he's got practice doing this.
Yeah, so he knows what's up. Good
He's
stuff.
faking it.
No,
Is there any way for me as a ranger to kind of see if I can just sense how long they've been down?
Well,
Like from
the
looking at them?
two that were, you assume, zombies that were attacking have been dead for quite some time, maybe a year or two. In the swamp, that's not pretty. Although once they rise back up again, decay is kind of slowed. The guards are cold, which isn't too surprising in this weather.
Mm-hmm.
But that also limits your ability to tell how long they've been down. Your best guess is maybe yesterday at the furthest back.
Okay. I whisper that to Obaim, just so the sergeant can't hear. Just make him aware.
I understand. Let's continue, guys.
Okay, and you continue at a pace that you know it's the same pace because it sort of has a rhythm to it after a while, but it feels like you're going slower now. Like your journey, your endpoint just moved further away from you, knowing that you've got all of this extra baggage, literally and figuratively, riding with you. That's the kind of DM I am.
Genuinely, I love it.
And other than seeing a few more undead frozen in the icy waters of the swamp, you encounter nothing else for the remainder of the day. So ends day 2.
I'll take first watch this time.
I'll take second.
I'll take third.
During the watch, I like to do another prayer section.
Okay. Give me a perception check, though.
+4, 18.
You do not see anything. At this point, you think you may have heard something, but it could have just been like swamp gas or something. Or you don't know. It almost sounded like a sizzle, but you've got a campfire, so it's hard to hear over that. Second watch, give me a perception check.
I would also like to do a prayer session while I'm doing second watch. 14.
You don't even hear a sizzle. For you, the night watch is uneventful except for the whimpers from this sergeant still. He's quieted down a lot. He's not openly sobbing anymore, but he is still racked with grief. Third watch, give me a perception check.
8.
So you go to relieve yourself in the middle of the night, and you almost can't find your way back to the wagons.
Even with like dark vision or whatever.
You got turned around the wrong way.
All right.
And even though you're pretty much on a road that you can't get off of, you had trouble turning around to 180 degrees.
This is why you don't send gnomes to do things.
Why you don't roll an 8. Also, your dark vision was somewhat hindered by the fact that there was a very bright campfire.
All right, that's fair enough.
Okay, so far as you know, the evening was uneventful. Day rises on the third day of the journey. You expect to get into town early afternoon is what old Bob says should be how long it takes. Dibbs has been very untalkative for this entire journey so far. He speaks when spoken to, but he is not in a good mood. He's in a worse mood than usual, and that was before you found the sergeant.
Can I insight him just to see what his body language is indicating?
Go right ahead.
12.
Okay, so your idea about what Dibbs is thinking is, if you were someone who was not an adventurer and you tended to give yourself a bloody finger when you used a letter opener to open correspondence from your wife, and you had to travel through a swamp where things just wouldn't stay dead in it, you would probably be a little nervous.
I just don't trust him.
I want to talk to Bob while we're traveling.
I
Okay.
would like to try and talk to the sergeant while we're traveling.
Okay, let's go with Ponk first.
So, Bob, tell me, what makes these things come back? I mean, they're dead, and then they get up and start walking around.
Hell if I know. Do I look like a wizard?
No, but you've been through here before, so I'm thinking you've probably seen something.
I've been through here before, yeah. I've seen zombies. I've killed a few zombies. I've tied zombies up for the wagon to get cremated on the other side of the trip. That's what we do. It's what we've been doing for about 100 years. No one's figured out why.
All right.
Word has it that the Lord of the Keep has been researching it, just like his dad before him, and his dad before him, and his dad. I forget how many dads. But in any case, they're all wizards. They've been researching it for generations. They haven't, well, they've made some improvements, but they haven't really figured out what's doing it.
Fair enough. I'm done.
Okay, Vex, you're up.
So, sitting next to the sergeant, I kind of give him my water skin back.
That implies that he gave it back to you when you
Very
handed.
true.
No, he has a death grip on it now. Before he had a death grip on the sword, now he's holding the water skin like it's his only thing holding him onto this planet.
I ask him if he needs more water.
What? No. No, I'm fine.
I take one of my rations for the day and I tell him, you need to eat. You need to keep your strength up.
He takes it from you, and you have to kind of remind him to move his hand to his mouth to eat. But once he does it, it's sort of a mechanical motion. He chews and swallows.
One of the men, I'm guessing family.
No, I don't have a family. It's just a guard. But
I'm from a ranger community. Your guard was your family.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't deserve that.
No, they did not. I lost people too.
How many of your rangers did you kill?
None. But
I don't get to say that anymore.
I've seen many people cut down in front of me. People I've considered friends, family.
But
blood.
you didn't kill them.
No.
I swung my sword to kill those things, and I hit him. Fred is gone because of me. Not because of zombies, not because of those eyes. Because of me, because I didn't see what I was doing. I should have known he was there. I heard him screaming. I should have known.
Am I around this while this is conversation going on?
I'm kind of just trying to get him to vent.
You're on the other side of the wagon, but you can hear the conversation. He's not exactly whispering.
Because the best thing he can do right now is just get it out.
Yeah, but he said something about those eyes.
No, I know. You swung after they took your vision?
The zombies weren't down. They were still there. The eyes were there. We had to do something. We couldn't just stand there anymore.
If they had taken your vision, it wasn't you who killed him.
I'm the one who swung my sword.
And you swung your sword to defend yourself.
Not against Fred.
I
could hear him. He was right there. I shouldn't have swung in that direction. I should have known better.
There's nothing I can say that'll make you feel better. Or that will console you, or will take away this pain.
You're damn right about that.
But what I can say is that you did what you had to do to stay alive. You defended yourself.
If killing one of your friends is what you'd have to do to stay alive, could you do it?
I hesitate. But then I respond with, yes.
He doesn't look in your direction, obviously, but he faces your direction for a while. Then he faces forward. Some of us wouldn't.
In hearing this, I go over to him and I see if I can ask him about those. What would he mean about those eyes?
They were eyes. Just hundreds of eyes.
Hundreds?
Maybe thousands. I don't know. They wouldn't stand still for me to count them, okay?
DM, is this something I may have seen before?
There's a pun in there somewhere.
That's why I said it. I was going to say, is this something I may have encountered before, but then I thought about the pun.
Give me an Arcana check.
Oh, God, I have to be Arcana.
Oh, I can do this one. Hold on.
14.
You've never heard of anything like this before in your life.
Wow.
I think I would have.
Even with a 21?
That is a high.
Is that a natural 20?
No, that's 19 plus 2.
You've heard of beholders, but they have a body that's with it. They're not just eyes.
Yes. That's what I'm at the eyes, and I'm like thinking beholders. Yeah.
So you're not convinced this is what he meant, but it's the closest you can come up with, unless you ask follow-up questions and he tells you more.
If it's a beholder, we're screwed.
Well, so I'm thinking. I'm just saying, Vex. none of the bodies had eyes. All the eyes were gone.
No. Yeah. Even the zombies that were there.
Yep. So did these things with eyes take your eyes?
They weren't things with eyes. They were just eyes.
This is turning into
I gotcha. Yeah, these are beholders.
And we couldn't move. They were just there, and we couldn't do anything. And the zombies were there. And as soon as I could move again, I swung and I killed Fred.
It was petrification.
Yeah, they were. Did you see where they were coming from?
The zombies, they were on the road. They never got frozen in the water.
The eyes. Where did the eyes come from?
Where did the eyes come from?
Everywhere. They weren't there, and then they were.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It came from all over at once.
Where are we located now, DM?
I believe you're in Florida. Most of you are in Florida. One of you happens to be in Scotland. And I'm hanging out in Maryland. But that's neither here nor there. You are... this conversation has been going on for a while. There's been a lot of dramatic pauses as you think of what to say next. You're maybe an hour or two from Coomridge at this point.
Let's pack up and get to Coomridge. So we can.
Yeah, you're on the road. You're almost there.
Yeah, that conversation was happening on the road.
Oh, okay, on the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, at this point, no one's stopping during daylight hours. And if you had one more day, you probably would have traveled through the night at this point. And I don't think anyone would have complained about traveling through the night.
Am I still on top of the wagon?
No, you decided not to do that this time, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, you didn't request it at the start of the morning.
Yeah. It's being on top of the wagon is fun and all, but my assumption is your paladin's ready for combat after what you saw the day before. As you approach Coomridge, there's very little that's blocking your view of the wall that separates the swamp from the Coomridge side. So you can see it several hours in advance of you actually getting within range of it. It is a stonework wall. The wall on the Gors Gate side was mostly wood. It was a bunch of logs driven into the ground and put together. But this is a stone wall. It looks very well upkept. You can barely make out figures patrolling the top of it. Your elf eyes see figures patrolling the top of it. You cannot count the fletchings of their arrows, but they're there. There is a gate that the road leads to. It appears to be the only gate in... Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. There are some smaller gates spanning down the wall in either direction. They are not incredibly large. None of them look like, from this distance, that they'd be the size that would let a wagon through, but it's almost like they're there for the purpose of maintenance or whatnot, so someone can maintain the opposite side of the wall without having to leave and travel for a day and a half or whatever. There are no guards stationed on this side of the wall. They're either on top of it or they're on the other side of the gate. As you get to the wall, the guards immediately recognize the sergeant that's with you. They call him out by name. His name is Brent Guttig. They just call him Sergeant Guttig, but one of them does let you know his full name. They take him off your hands, and thank you very much. They also take all of the bodies from underneath the wagon. Thank you for that. They throw them all in a wagon. There's some guy yelling, "Bring out your dead," and hitting a gong. They throw them all into that wagon.
Become an industry then.
One guy's going, "I'm not quite dead yet. I feel fine. You were stone cold the other day."
Yep.
That doesn't actually happen. They're not throwing live people into the wagon. But this wagon was kept with a hooked up horse to it like right on the other side of the gate, and your best guess is it's here for this purpose, and they take that and the guard off in the direction of a rather large stone structure that is not too far away from the main wall. And you're assuming this is the keep that the town of Coomridge Keep is named for. Dibbs trades words with a different sergeant, let's put it that way. And then he looks over at the rest of you and he's like, okay, so we're going to get you set up at the inn, but as soon as you're set up, they're probably going to want to talk to you in the keep. No worries, you're not in trouble, but they're going to want to hear your side of the story.
Our side.
Yes, the fact that we found 4 dead guards and a sergeant with no eyes.
Yeah, but how could there be I do it? What happened?
Well, and they're
know
going to
that.
want to know what you saw. That came out wrong. Look, you were witnesses to what was there. You talked with the sergeant when the memory was still pretty fresh. They're going to want to know what you encountered because it's all evidence.
They need to make sure that we give them all the information that he gave us.
As a barbarian, I'm naturally paranoid about authority figures. So
Look, it's
just a little out of character.
I know there's plenty of kingdoms that aren't so good. This is one of the better ones. We've got a lord that actually really cares about people, okay? You'll be okay. None of you are in trouble, all right? They just want to make sure they know what happened so they can do what they can to make sure it doesn't happen again.
That's fine. We have no problem doing that.
Just
Okay.
shrug.
We'll follow along.
Okay, so the wagons stop off at the inn to drop you off. Dibbs and Old Bob are going to take the wagons the rest of the way to Dibbs's place, where he's going to winter over, and then Old Bob goes wherever Old Bob goes.
As Old Bob's walking away, I just kind of give him a wee salute. Because I really like Old Bob.
He sort of raises like 2 fingers to his eyebrow a little bit, but his arm is crooked, and it's the most respectful he has ever been so far as you've ever seen. But if he was in the military, he'd be doing push-ups until the following sunrise for that salute.
I did that was the thing. I did the same kind of salute to him, just kind of like the casual little 2-finger salute.
No, it wasn't casual. It was if you were military, this salute was so sloppy that it would piss you off. So no, it wasn't casual at all. It was intentionally bad.
I'm just gonna say, Punk, I think he has a soft spot for me.
Have fun in Florida.
Okay. Oh, and let me look this up. Okay, so the inn that you are staying at is, in fact, Dibbs was true to his word. It is the finest inn in all of Coomridge Keep. It is, in fact, the finest inn so far as you know in Coomridge. There might be a finer inn in the Dwarven city, or more of a town or settlement, whatever, on the far side of Coomridge, but they don't let outsiders in, so you wouldn't be staying there anyway. But this is definitely the best inn in all of Coomridge Keep.
It's a dump, isn't it?
It's also the only inn in all of Coomridge Keep, but that doesn't mean it's a bad inn. You do all have your own room. It's not the most spacious room in the world, but none of you is bunking with another party member. They don't have a no pets policy. Matter of fact, the innkeeper...
What's the inn called?
The Blue Bucket. It's called the Blue Bucket. The sign out front looks like at one time it was a bouquet of blue roses. But the inn is called the Blue Bucket.
I'll take it.
Is that like the symbol of the city, the blue rose?
The blue rose, what you gather is it is actually, it may very well be the symbol for the city, but it is definitely part of the coat of arms for the Idris family, which is the family that rules over Coomridge.
Okay.
The wizard that traveled with you lets you know that a long time ago, over 100 years before this whole undead thing happened, among the aristocracy in various countries, it was known that the Idris family, who were wizards back then also, had managed to develop a blue rose that had some magical qualities through some methods that they kept secret. So they kind of had a monopoly on this thing that other aristocracy families kind of liked and would pay a lot of money for. It was one of the only profitable exports from Coomridge.
What were you saying about the pet policy?
Okay, so the innkeeper's name is Pudge. He might have a different real name, but everyone calls him Pudge, including his wife. And his wife is enamored with Shepherd. She keeps sneaking him pieces of meat. And it's not all scraps. She talks baby talk to him. You might actually be a little worried that Shepherd's going to choose to just live here from now on instead of traveling with you. If nothing else, he's going to be a round little puppy by the end of the winter.
What about my bird?
I keep him away from her whenever she has any kind of meat that's making him really, really fat.
He's on a strict vegan diet.
That would kill him.
It's not that he's vegan. It's just that we don't want a fat little puppy.
We want him to be a killing machine.
Yes, we want him to be the most adorable killing machine on the planet.
And if he can roll into combat like a bowling ball, it's not exactly the killing machine you want.
No.
But to answer your question, Fenix's bird, Justice, is just fine. They scrounge out a somewhat in slight disrepair but still serviceable perch that Justice can sit on. It has a little sort of container underneath that catches droppings, which makes it easier for cleanup in the room, which fits with their "we allow pets" policy. They are very welcoming. You're not going to have free reign of all the alcoholic beverages, but there is an allotment of how much you get to drink, and the food isn't bad. And
How much is the allotment?
you feel comfortable with it so long as your goal is not to get so drunk that you need to hold on to a blade of grass to keep yourself from floating off the planet.
He can have mine. I don't drink.
Wait, what?
I'm okay with this.
Everyone within earshot just looks at you, the dwarf,
What?
who has said... Now, I'm speaking for the NPCs in particular, but they all just look at you with someone that had like one eyebrow raised and like the Spock eyebrow raised thing. Like, this is highly illogical.
Aren't you
Dwarf who
addicted
doesn't
to like
drink?
dwarf beer?
No, I have to keep your. Gotta keep your asses alive.
And I gotta guard all yours.
So, enough alcohol to kill a horse. That's what I'm writing down then, if I'm taking all of his.
They're not giving you his.
Oh.
So there is like a bar.
It's an inn.
Okay, I take an ale then.
I'll get an
Okay.
ale too. Cheers.
Okay,
Cheers.
everyone who wants a drink gets one drink. Because it is around lunchtime. You got here sort of just like... You've missed the lunch rush. That crowd is gone. You're getting a meal. Your stuff's all moved into your rooms. All your traveling gear and whatnot. Dibs actually gave you a bonus. You each ended the trip with 20 gold. In addition to what you spent during the journey that he'd been paying you throughout. So on your character sheet, you can add additional 20 gold to what you have for finances. And he lets you keep the winter gear as well. But after that, a guard shows up and stops by, and he's just like, "You're the travelers that came with the merchant?"
Yeah, that was us.
"Your presence is requested at the keep." This, by the way, this particular guard, he's still wearing the same tabard. His tabard does not have any trim at all. Neither did the tabards of the dead guards that you encountered.
I'm gonna hop down from my stool.
It's a long hop.
I was going to say, you might need to roll for falling damage.
I down my beer.
I'm just gonna cross my arms, just stand there and wait.
All right, I follow the guy who me and Logan follow the guy.
I'll follow
Okay.
along.
They do have a wagon available for you, so you don't have to walk the whole trip. It's not a long trip, but it's a courtesy thing. The wagon has seats that are sort of attached to the sides of it, so you're not just like throwing yourself into the back of a pickup truck type of thing. It's as comfortable as wagons you can as you can expect wagons to be. The roads are relatively clear of snow, which you're actually kind of surprised of because the snowfall has really kicked up at this point. There's maybe about a foot worth of snow on the roofs around you that wasn't there when you went into the inn, and visibility is pretty low. You got here just before the first big snowstorm of the season. If you'd been on the road when this happened, you might not have gotten here with the wagons. So they take you into the keep, and the main hall it's not the most extravagant thing you've ever seen, but it's like a castle. So you got this great big room, you got tapestries on the walls, there's a carpet that goes through the whole thing, there's pictures of blue roses pretty much everywhere. And they lead you into a side room, and there is a somewhat elderly man sitting at a table to the side. He's got a bunch of papers. He's got an inkwell. His hair is... he's got the Jean-Luc Picard thing going around the back. And he's got these rickety spectacles. He's clearly the scribe that's going to be taking things down. There's chairs for all of you, appropriately sized for your race, so that you're all sitting at a decent height at a table. On the opposite side of the table is another guard. This guard is wearing the same tabard as everyone else, but this one has blue and gold trim. Standing over to the side from him is a guard wearing a tabard with blue and silver trim, but he's standing over to the side. The guard that's sitting has like gray at the temples, but otherwise it's just like a military cut black hair. And the guard that's standing has hair that goes down past his shoulders. It's blonde, and your first thought for this guy is he's got charisma 18. But the guy who's sitting is the one who asked the questions, and he pretty much asks you to go over what encountered. Is there anything you leave out? I'm not going to ask you to just retell the whole story over again, but is there any specific details that you... Is there anything you specifically focus on, or anything that you leave out, or what do you do?
Yeah, I want to focus on the eyes, specifically when he was explaining to us the different eyes, and said they were coming from everywhere. He was saying hundreds and possibly thousands of eyes around the area.
I would like to hold back a little bit on the sergeant killing the other guard. I don't want to withhold it, but I don't want to emphasize it. Yeah.
Give me an insight check.
13.
16.
Okay, this isn't exactly the setting where it'd be a good idea to just blurt it out, but Obaim, it's kind of clear to you from their lines of questioning that while they're not trying to just openly say it either, they kind of know how Fred died. That isn't the purpose of this session, but They do know how Fred died.
Poor Fred.
We barely knew ye.
Oh no.
They do give you a lot of follow-up questions about the eyes. You tell them everything that you know, which isn't much. But on more than one occasion while you're talking about it, the two guards just sort of exchange glances. At one point, the one that's sitting, where as he gets addressed in the conversation, you become aware that he's the commander of the guard. He's pretty much in charge of all the guards in Coomridge.
Do they say a name?
He just calls him Commander. Otherwise known as, I didn't write down a name yet, and I don't remember what I should call him.
Is that the one with the black hair?
The one with the black hair with silver at the temples. The guy who's sitting turns to the guy who's standing and says, your dad know anything about this? I'll have to talk to him. You know he's wintering over out of the country. Darn his old bones. I'm not even going to have you do an insight check. It's clear that they're holding stuff back.
Yeah.
They thank you for your time and your service, and say that they might, if you are so interested, have some jobs that they'd be willing to pay you for in the near future, if you're interested.
What kind of jobs? I don't want to be a babysitter for a caravan again.
Oh, no, there's no caravans coming or going anymore. We're surprised Dibs made it in this late. No, everyone who's here for the winter is pretty much here for the winter at this point.
The sigh tells a lot about that gnome.
In fairness, I'm the same. I don't like being in the one place for too long.
Oh, you can still travel within Coomridge. It's not that well, as a kingdom, it's small, but it's not a small area. It's just that the swamp at this point is pretty much impassable.
Any churches around here?
3, in fact.
Any of them nature gods? Nature deities?
There is... Let me look this up. Now, this is something that you picked up not in this room with these two guards. I mean, if you really want to question them about religion, you can. But there's 3 main sets of deities that are worshipped in the Coomridge area. The official goddess of Coomridge is Botanis, the goddess of beauty. She's the patron goddess of the Idris family, which rules the keep. But she isn't worshipped by everyone. The more rural communities tend to follow a set of twin deities, Schemus and Mauritia. And they're the goddesses of planting and harvesting, so that's as close as you're going to get to a nature deity. The religion for them is kind of weird in that only one of them gets worshipped at a time. During the spring and... the winter and summer solstices, they basically switch which goddess they're worshipping.
Who's the current god?
The current one would be the goddess of harvesting, and that would be Mauritia. It's actually considered bad luck to worship one of them out of season. But all the clerics of Schemus during the solstice, they switch over to Mauritia. And during the next solstice, they switch back to Schemus.
Schemus and Mauritia. Okay.
And the third deity is Terra the Rock Shaper, but she is almost exclusively worshipped by the dwarves. Well,
shouldn't have to do.
While most of the dwarves tend to hang out in their town, there are some dwarves that live in Coomridge Teep. In particular, one dwarf who you're told to talk to should you be interested in taking on any jobs is Geckard Irongut. And the town is called Orstrike, by the way. That is on the far western side of Coomridge.
So an active mine?
It's no longer active. This mine actually got mined out during the Empire. So it's been mined out for well over 1,000 years, but it's stayed a dwarven settlement since then. Any involved metalwork or stonework that needs to get done, the dwarves of Orstrike tend to be the ones that get hired out for it. They make a decent living doing that.
Looking for work over there.
But Geckard Irongut is the one that you would actually talk to for any bounties, or there is an outstanding bounty for bringing in undead, by the way. You kind of get the sense that some of that bounty money was what you got paid by Dibs, where he was just passing it on to you.
After he took his cut, right?
Give me an insight check.
All of those, or just him?
Anyone who's thinking that Dibs took a cut.
Oh, I completely don't trust him.
14 for synergy. Let's see. Logan's going to roll. Go ahead, Logan.
17 for me.
11.
None of you think he took a cut.
Even with a 17?
Especially with a 17.
Oh, well, there
He's
you
a
go.
charismatic little son of a...
Or he didn't take a cut.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him.
You guys want to head over to Deckard Irongut and see if we can get into something?
What time's it?
You didn't spend too long talking with them. It's maybe around 4 o'clock. You could get an early supper if you really wanted to, but you're still kind of full from lunch.
There's some bits and bobs I would want to do before I would even think about going to get any more jobs. A couple bits and bobs.
Well,
Okay.
Deckard keeps his office in the keep itself, and you are currently in the keep. So if you want to go out and do stuff,
Oh.
you can.
If we're currently in the keep,
Yeah,
may
he's
as well.
he's an employee of the keep. he is employed by the Idris family for more than one generation, actually.
Let's go speak to Geckard then.
Let's go.
So Geckard is he's about middle-aged for a dwarf. He's got a little bit of gray in his beard, but it's not the point where he's trimming out any hairs or anything. He's very well dressed. By dwarfish standards, he's almost a dandy with how well he's dressed. By human standards, he's just he's kind of nice. It looks like he put on a tie. Okay. But dwarves might think he's a bit too well dressed. Like, what are you trying to be, an elf or something? I don't know. But in your conversations with him, what's this? He works for royalty.
Just yeah.
And he's pretty. He's basically the steward.
Okay.
So he handles finances. He handles business purchases and stuff like that.
So he needs to be sharpest dressed.
He
Sharp-dressed dwarf.
he dresses for the job he has and the job he wants, because they're the same job. He's good at what he does. Let's face it, this is a kingdom that for about 100 years has had almost nothing in the way of exports, because who wants to travel through an undead-ridden swamp to get there? And it looks like they're still doing relatively okay. He's good at what he does.
Impressive.
Yes. Now, granted, you don't know what the population was back then and what compared to what it is now. Your assumption is that it's a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And a smaller population would be easier to care for.
Yeah.
But in your conversation, which I'm not going to roleplay the whole thing out because my throat is not feeling well after all this talking. And he's not as gruff as my voice wants him to be. But he mentions that every now and then there's undead that can be cleared out of the swamp, and it's kind of easy to do in the wintertime, and you're just like, yeah, we know. He's like, okay, well, he shuffles a few more papers, and it's like, okay, well, you already know about that, and there's a bounty for that, okay. Turns out some of the undead have been found with no eyes. If you can figure out what that's about, that might be good if you know anything about that. Let's do some more papers. He doesn't even look to see if you react to him saying that.
I kind of just put my hand down on his desk. No eyes?
Yeah, it's one of the things that just got handed to me. Apparently, a bunch of the undead have been found with no eyes. Now, every now and then, they'll rot out of their head before they come back to life. But
We'll take that job.
okay, well, he hands you all these papers are like there's stacks of duplicates, so he can hand one to you, but still have record of it. So he puts a stamp on and he hands that paper to you. Okay, here you go. Let's do a few more papers. No, that one's not for you. It's okay. What is this doing in here? That got solved last winter. He puts that in another pile. There's some farmers to the south that have been complaining that there might be goblins down there. They need someone to scout out and see if there actually are any goblins. Sometimes farmers just get a little nervous when they can't hunt deer anymore or something. And let's see a few more papers. And we need someone to go check on old Marwood.
Here's old Marwood.
Oh, he's an elf that lives in the north in a tower. He's old for an elf. Let's put it that way. It gets a little senile. And he does have a gnome that works with him by the name of Fiddlepunch. But, you know, they're kind of isolated in that tower, and especially during the wintertime. We try to send people to check on them every now and then, see how they're doing.
We can take that one.
Yeah, I might as well.
Yeah, let's take that one too.
Okay. Now, these are in opposite directions. You're not going to take these out on the same day.
That's fine.
No, yeah, we'll do the first one with the eyes. That's going to be our main focus right now.
Yeah, we'll get to both of them, but we'll take the two jobs and we'll get to both of them.
Well, okay. So you're taking the visit Marwood job and the eyes in the swamp job.
Is there a completion requirement as a deadline?
If you take the job to visit and check on Marwood, Geckard, the dwarf. Geckard lets you know that if you take the job to visit Marwood, you'll be given something that you bring back to let them know that you've checked on them. There's a long-standing arrangement with the gnome, who's a bit younger, where he'll hand you something. As for the eyes thing, you'll have to bring something that convinces Geckard that the problem has been dealt with for the big reward, but for a small reward, information that leads to more information about that.
You guys want to do the goblin one first? They might have something to help us with the other one.
You mean
do you mean the
Fiddlepunch?
Yeah, Fiddlepunch first.
Yeah, we'll do Fiddlepunch.
Let's do that one first.
Yeah, we'll do Fiddlepunch first.
I'm just making us a to-do list.
Okay, so the elf's name is Marwood Lake Forest.
Crash these names.
And he's been there, like, no one remembers a time when he wasn't there. Hundreds of years. And like I said, he's old for an elf. Fiddlepunch Iron Wrench is a newer edition, maybe only 200 years or so. But the two work together. Oh, I guess you can ask them.